Spurs, Cass, don't play until Monday evening when they travel to Everton for a match which is live on talkSPORT. But it's fair to say the club is in some disarray without a permanent manager, and the director of football, Fabio Paratici, has also been banned from doing his job at Tottenham. He has agreed to step down from his role at Spurs pending the outcome of his global appeal, or the global ban, I should say, and he's appealed that. Here's talkSPORT presenter Paul Hawksbee, a lifelong Tottenham fan, summing up the feeling amongst the supporters.
I know what I want from the club. I want some evidence that there's some joined up thinking going on and that somebody's nominally in control. It seems like a runaway train at the moment with the decision making that's going on, and there is even talk of an increase in season ticket prices, which I think would be utterly tone deaf considering this season and indeed the past 3 or 4 seasons and decisions that have been made around managers.
Wow.
Okay, so that's some of the thoughts of Paul Hawksbee. I'm sure there's more as well on the situation at Spurs, and it is they are going through a turmoil, aren't they, right now, following the sacking of Antonio, or shall we say the mutual consent departure of Antonio Conte, the situation of the director of football as well. We talked about this off air. You think it's going to get worse before it gets better?
Well, there's a lot of stuff that hasn't been talked about with Spurs. You've mentioned the director of football, Paratici. Mm-hmm. You've obviously, we're talking where the club are over Antonio Conte. They're fourth at the moment, and that's their saving grace because people will say, yeah, but they're fourth. Mm-hmm. Well, it's quite precarious. They're a fourth place because Newcastle 2 games in hand, 2 points behind. Liverpool just behind them now. I don't think Liverpool will make it, personally. I think Brighton could catch them. I mean, Brighton play Brentford today. They could get within, and still have a number of games. At the moment, they've got 3 games in hand over Spurs. Yeah. So they could conceivably get there. But no one's talked about, well, what's going to happen from beyond? If they don't make the Champions League, let's go down that road first of all. Say they don't make the Champions League, right? So there's a big blow. There's a big dent into the club. Secondly, the one that gets me is considering life without Kane. Now, a lot of fans, all of them are on Harry's side. If it's Daniel Levy or Harry Kane, all the Tottenham fans are on Harry's side. They totally understand where he is as a player, why he would want to leave Spurs because of the way the club's run. I think they all get that. Now, if he was to take Tottenham to the final year of his contract and not go this summer, he'd still be 31 and he'd still get a great move if he stayed at Spurs. But if he took Tottenham down the road of, I'll hang on to my last year, which no one's really talked about, whether Harry would do that, all the pressure's on Daniel Levy again. It's going to mount on Daniel Levy. I can only see things getting worse because life without, even if they lose him, you've just lost your main goal scorer. So if he did go this summer, so we've looked at him not going and staying and what difficult thing it would be, because there'll be a lot of talk all during the season about it'll all be Harry, where he's going, he's going to let his contract run out. Because if he doesn't sign this summer, he's definitely going to let his contract run out. If he does decide to go and he agrees with Spurs to leave, where are Tottenham going to find a number 9 even close to Harry Kane? It's a really difficult one. It's a massive void to fill for me. I can only see Spurs going backwards at the moment. Obviously, appointing the right manager can make a difference. A guy that can deal with a lot of problems that are happening at this football club. But you've got a disgruntled group of fans. I say group because they're way bigger than a group. It's nearly the mass of Tottenham fans that are really angry at the way their club's going, even though they're sitting fourth. I don't think they'll make fourth. So I can only see a bigger problem. I might be wrong, but from the way I see it, I don't think they're good enough, and I think they have too many internal problems to get that fourth place.
Well, they are a little inconsistent, aren't they? And obviously we know what happened last time out in that 3-3 draw with Southampton, which led to that extraordinary rant from Antonio Conte, which then led to his inevitable departure. I suppose the other question is, Cass, if they don't make the top 4, does that then change the pursuit of a manager, or does that not matter? Because ultimately I don't even know, let's say Maurizio Pochettino, but I'm not even sure if we should be bringing him into this debate. But does that change a manager's thought on Tottenham? Do they look at it as a different type of project that maybe some managers will think, well, you're not in Europe, you're not in the top 4, you're not in the Champions League, therefore it's not a a challenge I want.
Well, like their transfers, they're not very good at picking managers. They seem to go with ones with an incredible CV, and some of them have been past their best. You know, I would have said Jose wasn't quite the manager that he was at Chelsea and Inter Milan before. Tottenham got the worst of Jose. I think in some ways they got the worst of Conte.
Yeah.
So the manager is important, the choice you make, but they get a lot of transfers wrong as well. You know, it amazes me how so many players have gone backwards at Spurs or not deemed quite good enough. It's a really weird scenario. It's like you're at a club and you're playing a club today, Brighton, that are similar to you, where you get way more decisions right than wrong. Tottenham are the reverse. They're getting more wrong than right. So the manager is an important decision, where they go, and show some courage in your conviction of how much work you put in to get into a manager. Tottenham are always going to get incredible applicants for the job. It's a very big job in football.
Yeah. So it won't put anyone off is what I was basically trying to see, if that's what you were going to say. The only thing that might put a manager off is the fact that it just seems as though it's a club that isn't running as efficiently as it should do. You've mentioned some of the transfer issues. That's a problem. Some big name managers have come in and failed. And, you know, you can even look at how they were the dealings of Nuno Espirito Santo last summer, which was such a last-minute decision in the end because they were hoping Conte would come. That didn't happen. They went for Espirito Santo. That didn't work as an appointment. Then Conte came in, and obviously we know what's happened since then.
Nat,
like say last summer, the summer before, whatever it was.
Think of it like this. They've got an owner, Joe Lewis, who lives in the Caribbean. No one really knows much about. They all know he's a very wealthy owner. He leaves it all in charge of Daniel Levy. Daniel Levy's an accountant by trade. You know, he runs the club like you said. Prices could go up at Spurs next year. They're already one of the dearest in the country. You know, it feels like everything at Spurs. I mean, the whole club, the design, the new stadium was all built of much more revenue, which I get because it enables you to spend more money. But you can go after a game at Spurs and you can have literally an hour after the game, you can have 30,000 plus in there still drinking in the bars. You know, it generates massive amounts of money, but what you're getting on the pitch is where the fans are looking at and thinking, this ain't good enough for this football club.